Crista Ames here from Gallery 1. I am the ceramic instructor for the Art2GO kit, the clay cup. And I have my kit here. And if you're here watching this video, you're probably here to watch me demonstrate how to make your clay cup. So we're going to start off by talking a little bit about the project, and then we're going to go through our materials, and then we'll start making our cups. So the clay cup for today, I thought it would be great if it was inspired by the outside and getting you to go on a little walk around your neighborhood or your yard or somewhere you like to collect some leaves or some flowers. I actually have a flower arrangement here that I'm going to grab that has seen better days. It's already wilting, but I just love the way dead flowers look, so I can't get rid of it. So I have some leaves on here and some berries and things that I'm going to press into the side of my cup while I'm making it to give it a nice sort of reflection of nature. And then as you're working on your piece, make sure that before you get started, you wash your hands really well, and think about some tools around your house that maybe would be good to help you besides just the foliage from outside. Maybe you'll need a cup with some extra water to, and a sponge to do some smoothing. And maybe there's some other tools in your kitchen that you would find useful. So just think about that. And maybe you want to think about some other things from nature, like maybe you want to get a rock or something to create some nice texture. Or like I can't think of anything else, a stick or a berry or a twig. Doesn't have to be just a leaf or a flower. All right, so let's get into our kit here. We've got our Art2GO clay kit, clay bag. We have our tools rolled up here. And in the kit, you've got your canvas to work on, your fork for scoring or scratching, which we'll talk about in the lesson, your wooden skewer, which is really great for writing things or getting into small places and for cutting. And then your paintbrush for applying slip. We also have this nice little sketchbook if you wanted to do some drawings ahead of time. I really recommend that you do that before you get started. So we have also a little pencil in here for drawing with. So you can take this with you on a walk in nature and maybe draw some ideas of what you would want your cup to look like. So I'm just going to draw a little ellipse and a circle coming down. And then, you know, maybe I'll add in a foot here and a handle. So think about all the elements of a cup that you want to have. And think about what you want your cup to look like and how you use cups in your everyday life. Maybe you even spend some time in the morning when you're having your juice or milk or whatever you drink in the morning, or maybe just water, and hold the vessel that you're drinking from and think about what you like and what's about that cup. And, you know, do you need a handle? What shaped foot or bottom does it have? How does the lip look? And think about all those things. And then write them down. We also have some clay in our kit because it's a clay kit. And oh, a tool that got away. We have a popsicle stick that's great for doing some smoothing, for connecting our foot or our handle. And then we have our clay slip in this little container here. Mine got on its side, so just let it like settle back down, and we'll set that aside. All right, so we're gonna get started making already, and in 10 easy or maybe not so easy steps, I'll walk you through how to make your clay cup that's inspired by nature. So let's switch the camera to my hands so that we can get started. And we have our ball of clay, and our first step is going to be creating a ball. So we will take our oblong ostrich egg of clay, and we're going to rip off some of the clay. We don't need all the clay to make the body of our cup. We want to make sure that we have 2 nice sized ping pong ball pieces of clay. So I've got these nice ping pong balls of clay. One of these is going to be for your foot and one is going to be for your handle. So just make sure that you have enough clay for each of those things, and then set this clay back into your bag and set it aside for later. Clay dries out because it has water in it, so make sure you cover your clay. And now I'm just going to pat my ball back into a circle and smooth out any lines I may have. And then I'm going to do step number 2, which is create an opening in the ball of your clay. So we're going to create our opening by pushing our thumb gently into the clay and making sure that we still have 1/4 of an inch of clay at the bottom. If you push your thumb all the way through, don't worry, you can ball your clay back up and start over. You just want to make sure that you don't go all the way through to start with. So I've created my opening. It fits my thumb very nicely in it. And now I'm going to start step number 3, which is pinching the pot. So I'm going to start by pinching with my fingers together and all the way down at the bottom and rotating the pot very slowly. And I'm rotating and then pinching. So I'm pinching by moving the clay just a little bit at a time. And I'm kind of pulling up with these outside fingers. It's less of a like pushing with your thumb into it. The more you push with your thumb, the more your cup is going to go out. And the more you pull with your fingers, the more it's going to go up. So you'll have a taller cup. So we're just going to keep pinching and rotating. And anytime a crack forms, you're going to smooth it out with your fingers, because those cracks will start to open up if you see them and if you keep going over them. So concentrate on making your pinch pot taller rather than wide, because we are making a small cup. And then see how as I'm rotating, my fingers are slowly moving up the cup. We started all the way down here. And as you can see now, I can barely reach, I can't reach the bottom with my thumb anymore. So that's why we started at the bottom to begin with, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to reach it. So your cup's getting bigger, so you can't reach the bottom. And now we're slowly getting up to the rim. And we're just pinching it out a little. We're not going to finish our rim quite yet. We're going to wait and do that a little bit later. But you're just going to keep pinching and making sure that your cup is looking nice and even. And I like to close my eyes and try and feel how thick the walls are. And you want your walls to be about 3/8 of an inch thick. Okay, so now I've got this really nice pinched tall bowl that I'm going to turn into a cup. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to look at step number 4. Oh, I guess I'm making my rim right now. I think I'm gonna start by just pinching my rim out a little bit. So see how it's thick right here? So I can change the way that I'm pinching. So while I was pinching my pot, I was pinching with my fingers like this, so that they're like parallel with one another. And if I change the way my thumb is like that, and I start pinching like this so that it's coming up to a point, it will make your pot thinner without making the whole thing thin. So you're giving the illusion of a light, paper thin cup without having to have a thin cup all the way throughout. All right, so I've just pinched that a little. And we can work on our rims a little bit more later. I really do want to get the foot on first, but right now I have like a little bit of unevenness with my rim, which I like, but maybe you don't like that. So once we have our foot on, we'll talk about cutting our rims and smoothing them and all of those things. So let's flip our pot over onto our rim. And we are going to be making a foot. So you may be asking, I've said foot a lot, what is a foot? So we like to assign human characteristics to a lot of things, especially in pottery. And there are lots of parts of the cup that relate to the human body. So the foot is what sits on the table. It is what lifts the cup off. So just like your feet lift you off the ground, you're not sitting on the ground all the time. You're lifted up by your feet. And your rim or lip is where your lips go. And you also have a belly of your cup. So there are lots of human terms that are assigned to parts of the pot. So next we are going to start making that foot. There are two versions of the foot. I'm going to show the first and then I'll show an alternative. And how we're going to start is we're going to grab one of our balls of clay and we're going to roll it into a nice thick coil. Maybe you need to press your clay before you roll it. I like to just squish it into the shape. Maybe you need to roll on the table. Ooh, that looks cool on the video. Okay, and then once I have it like maybe like 3/4 of an inch thick, I'm going to just like slightly flatten it. I'm not pushing it really, really thin. And then I'm going to wrap it around the bottom of my cup. So I actually made more than I need. And I'm going to show you how it's wrapped around. And then I can use my pointy tool to cut and make it line up together. So now I have this nice foot that I will be able to sit. My cup is now lifted off the table instead of sort of rolling around. So my next step is attaching my foot. And how you attach any piece of clay to clay is you scratch, slip, and attach. So we're going to flip our cup back over. And we're going to start, before we start scratching, slipping, and attaching, we're going to trace where our foot is sitting. And we're also going to trace on the inside so that I know exactly where I need to put my scratch marks. Oh, my cup keeps moving. It's so soft. Okay, so here you can see I have my circle of where I need to scratch. And I'm going to get out my fork, which is my awesome scratching tool. And I will start by just scratching one direction all the way around, and then scratching back through, making lots of little X's. I want it to be nice and thick and roughed up. So here's my scratchy marks. And I'm not only scratching where I'm attaching, I'm going to be scratching what I'm attaching. And also this little end right here, we're just gonna scratch that too. Remember, everywhere that clay attaches to itself after you start working with it. Otherwise, when you go to fire it, it might fall off. Most likely will if you haven't scratched and slipped. Okay, now we are ready for another one of our tools from our kit, which is our slip. And you might have a little bit of water settled up on the top of your slip, so just give it a little stir. And slip is a special type of glue that we use in ceramic. And what this glue is made of is the clay that you work with. So it's just made of that same clay and it's mixed with extra water. And I mix it up in a blender and make a nice clay smoothie for you all who are in this Art2GO. And we're just kind of painting it on, kind of dolloping or dabbing it on. If I brush it on too much, it gets a little, it starts to like erase my scratch marks. So I don't want that to happen. I want to just have a nice, workable surface. Okay. And I want my scratch marks to come together. So I'm first gonna squish together my two ends of my foot, and then I will put my foot on the bottom of my pot, and I will carefully squish it onto my pot. I'm going all the way around. I'm kind of like pinching it into the foot, or into the bottom of my pot. And then you can grab your popsicle stick and start to smooth that in. So we can just smooth it down and really make that foot look raised, like it's a nice tall foot. It's gonna keep the condensation from your cup getting all on the bottom, and it'll concentrate on that one rim of your foot. We're going around, and then we can go on the inside and do the same. If it's too hard to get onto the inside for you, you can also just use your finger and just kind of like smooth that in. Since you've done it on the outside, you've probably got it nice and connected. And you can even give it a little bit of a pinch too, if you want it to be a little bit taller. Maybe you want it to come more straight up or something like that. So that is the first way you can do a foot. The second way you can do a foot, which is step 7 on alternate foot construction, is we're going to set this aside so that you can see it. And the other way you can do a foot is you can make just a flat disc. You can take the clay and just press it into the table. So you've got this nice disc, and then you can set your piece onto it. So I'll take this foot off so that you can see. You don't have to take your foot off unless you don't like it. Okay, so I've successfully removed my foot. And now I will show you how you put this alternate style of foot on, which is more of a flat style foot if the coil is too complicated for you. So we have it here, and you don't have to even trace where it's going. You just scratch right in the middle of your cookie of clay, and you scratch right in the middle of your pot. And then you put the slip on both sides. And then we flip our cup over onto our cookie and we push down in the middle. And so now it is seated on this solid foot. And you can even go in with your popsicle stick and work that back and forth if you'd like. But if you want to just leave it, you can also do that. I like to smooth out the line and make it a little more defined. So I'm going to do that. Okay. There is foot number 2. A little bit different, a little bit simpler than foot number 1. Okay, our next step is we're gonna jump back to our rim and clean that up a little bit. I want to make sure that if you have like any height difference and you wanna change that, you can. So basically how you do that is you can go around with your tool like this, your pointy tool, and just take like those little high points off. And then you'll have to like re-smooth and pinch. And I really like to, once I've finished my rim and made it look the way I want, I like to take that cup of water that I was talking about that you might want to get from the kitchen, and just take a little bit of water on your fingers. So I've got a little bit of water here, and I'm just going to smooth that rim out just so that it's nice to put your mouth against. Okay, so now my rim is done. I've got my rim, I've got my foot, and now I am ready for my 8th step, which is adding my pattern to the outside of the pot. So I've got my flowers here with my leaves, and I'm going to start just taking some of these pieces from them. I've got a couple leaves that I'd like to put on, and I'm just going to start by just gently pushing them into the surface of my cup and then smoothing them in. And you can leave them there for a little bit. We're just going to keep adding more so that you can see where they are. Maybe you want to add a nice like berry in here. Think about how your pattern interacts with each other. So maybe you want to do just everything and like integrate it all over, or maybe you want to do more of a like one side is all leaves and one side is all stems. Whatever you'd like to do. I'm going to just do this alternating pattern. I think that's working pretty well for me. Just carefully pushing them into the clay, making sure I'm not pushing all the way through. Ooh, here's a different type of leaf I've got here that I'm going to push in. And make sure if you're going to put a handle on the piece to leave room for that handle. And don't be, you know, the impressions that we're making are going to be very subtle. So don't be too discouraged if we pull them up and you can't see the lines that much. The glazes that I've chosen for this project are going to work well with that kind of surface. All right, and then I just need, I'm gonna leave this space open because that's where I'm gonna put my handle. I just need one more little berry, I think here. Okay. Oh, and maybe I'll sneak a small leaf in over here. See what I can do. Yeah, it needs something right here. All right, well, I've only put leaves on the outside because I think that's the best spot for them. But if you would like to put any on the inside, you're totally welcome to do that as well. But for the sake of time with this tutorial, I'm just gonna do it on the outside. So now that I'm done decorating and adding texture and natural elements to the exterior of the pot, I can move on to the next step, which is step number 9, and it is an optional step. So if you're satisfied, sorry, I live near the hospital. If you're satisfied with your cup the way it is, you are totally welcome to be done and just wait for step number 10. But if you would like to add a handle to your cup, you can watch along for step number 9. So our extra clay that we have left over is for making that handle. And we are going to take our clay and make another coil. And it doesn't have to be too big. It really needs to be like shorter rather than longer and a thicker coil. So just decide how thick you want it. I'm just rolling a lot of clay. If you want to put 2 handles on yours, you can also do that. I'm going to cut off some extra clay and put it away. And I've got this nice coil here that's going to become my handle. So this is the spot I'm putting it. And I want to think about what a good handle looks like. So right now it looks like I've got it on upside down. So you want your handle to have a little bit of lift to it as you attach it on, right? And you want your handle to, your opening should be large enough to allow at least 1 finger to pass through. Mine has like 2 that can fit through right now. And remember that the clay is going to shrink when we put it, as it dries and when we put it in the kiln. So it doesn't need to be way out here. In fact, my handle's a little bit big and I'm going to cut it down. And another thing to think about handles is it doesn't have to have a hole in it. Maybe you want to make a different style handle. So let me set this aside, and with the other clay, I can show you how a handle can be something that you just hold onto by pinching at it. So maybe your handle is big enough that you can put another reflection from nature, another impression, and maybe it's like a nice ear that's sticking out, and then you imprint your fingers into it. Or maybe it's even smaller. Maybe it's like you imprint your hand into it and then you put it on. And now it's something that you grab onto. So it doesn't have to have a hole in it, just to show you that. Maybe it's a very dainty place to grab and there's 2 of them. Like it has a nice thumbprint here and then goes on like that. So I'm going to do a more traditional handle for mine. And I'm going to cut mine a little bit shorter because I thought it was a little too long and sticking out. And so this is my handle I'm going to put on my piece. So before I can put it on, I need to trace where it's going to go. And anytime we attach clay to itself, we always have to scratch, slip, and attach the piece. Otherwise, your handle could fall off during the firing, or whatever other clay, your foot, something else. So we're gonna get our scoring tool once again, and we have our nice marks where our scoring needs to happen. So we're just gonna scratch there. And then on the lower one, as you can see, there's a leaf kind of sticking into it. So we're gonna pull up a part of that leaf to make sure it's out of the way. And then we can attach our cup nicely to it. Or our handle, sorry, nicely to our cup. Ooh, and it looks like I have a sharp point on the bottom of my pot, so I'll have to work on that as we do some finishing. Okay, scratching the ends that are going to attach to the cup. And then applying some slip to each end, as well as to the cup connection points. Okay. And now we can carefully place our handle onto our cup. And as I place it, I've got a finger on the inside where I'm putting each part of the handle, and I'm pushing against that. So I'm pushing against that on the inside too. And then maybe I could even like articulate my handle a little bit as I'm pinching it and making sure that it's nice and connected and on there. So you can smooth it into the body of the cup, or you can leave it more of a connection point and then just wipe away the extra bits of slip that are showing up. All right, so now we're done with step number 9, which leaves us with our last step, which is finishing up our cups. So I like to look at my cup and check all of its pieces. So first off, I think I need to run a sponge with water over any sharp edges or my fingers and just smooth out any of those little spots. And then really important, I'd like you to remove any foliage or pieces of nature that are connected to your pot so that we can see them too. So if they are too wet right now to remove, like my berries are, you can leave them on for a little bit. But I think the leaves are going to be nice and easy to remove. And you can see this subtle mark that's happening with the leaf. You can see the spine and a little bit of other texture. So it's going to be a nice subtle relief. Oh, this is a really nice one we've got here. Look at that nice leaf on the side. I think pulling these ones by the stem is going to be easiest. And now I have this nice imprint of the little like rose hip berries, or I don't think they're rose hips. I'm not very good at my plant identification today, sorry. All right, pulling that off. And that one, let's pull this big one off. Oh, look at how nice that looks. Yeah, very subtle, but lovely. See, where do I still have one? Oh, I have one there. That one's pretty stuck on there. So let's get in with the little wood tool and pull that up. That looks nice. All right, and this last one over here. Okay, so now we have all of our leaves removed and buds and sticks and rocks and whatever else you have on there. If your handle is trying to sag a little, you can always get an extra piece of clay out of your bag and set up a little stilt for it so that it can dry in the spot you'd like. So we can just make a little clay stilt to hold it up so that it has the lift you want. And then the last thing that I want you to do with your cup is I would like you to write your name on the bottom so that you know which one's yours. And I would also like you to put a number on the bottom that corresponds with what color you would like your cup to be glazed. So let's flip our cups over. And you can even flip it onto the rim if that's easiest. And we're going to write I'll flip mine so that you can see what I'm doing. Sorry about that. I'll hold it like this. All right. So I'll write my name. Ooh, you need the pointy end to do it. Write my name. And then I'm gonna write what color I would like it glazed in. So the first glaze option we have is more of a gray green with a little bit of brown speckling that's a bit see-through, so you'll really be able to see the plant markings, and that is called Bonnie Surprise. And so write a number 1 if you want a grayish green with little brown specks, possibly. Number 2 is going to be a little bit harder to see your foliage. It's a little bit more of an opaque or thick glaze, but it's a lovely blue, and it is called Peggy's Blue. So if you would like that color, put a number 2. And the last glaze option that we have is a VC green. And so this is going to be a brighter green. It's not going to be like a Kelly green. It's more of a spring green. And it's nice and transparent, and you can really see the leaves shining through. So I'm going to write the number I want on the bottom of my pot, which is a number 3 for the VC green. And then I'm going to put a circle around it so that this will tell our ceramics tech, which is me, which color to glaze your cup. All right, so if we want to come back to me, you've got your cup done, and now you are ready to come back to Gallery 1 and drop off your cup on our greenware to be fired shelf, where I will take your cup and I'll put it in one of our kilns and I'll fire it up to almost 2,000 degrees. And then I'll glaze it once it's cooled down, and then I'll fire it again over 2,000 degrees. And then you'll come back and you'll have a lovely functional cup to drink out of, and that's inspired by nature. So make sure that you come by and drop off your piece, and so that I can see what you made. I can't wait. And I hope you're having a lovely afternoon or evening or morning or whatever it is where you are. All right, thank you so much, and see you at Gallery 1.
No.
No. Okay.
Hold on a second. It's still redirecting.
Okay.
And 3, 2, 1, go.